My name is Fergus from the Ferg the Spoon channel. Today we'll be telling an amazing story of survival. This is Betty Lou Oliver. If you thought your work days were bad, wait until you hear about the terrible experience that this girl had to go through on an average workday. Alright, let's get into it. When you think of a survivor, you think of someone like Bear Grylls, a tough, smart, and handsome man. But in this story today, it really shows that the average Joe can also be a true survivor. Betty Lou Oliver was born on the 16th of July 1925 at West Virginia in America. As a child, she was a good and hard-working student, and when she was old enough, she was working as an elevator attendant at the Empire State Building. On July 28, 1945, it was a very foggy evening, and for pilot William Smith, it was extremely hard to navigate. He was flying a B-25 service bomber and was heading along the outskirts of New York when he asked for permission to land, as it was way too foggy. At this time, he could barely see anything, and eventually, he would lose all visibility. Despite all of this, his landing request was denied, so William pretty much had to use the force to get out of New York City and back into clear airspace. When William was flying, his instructions on the plane's sat-nav, I guess you could call it, was to turn left. However, for some reason, he turned right, directly into the New York City skyline. At this time, he had no idea that he was in a very dangerous situation, and before he could figure out his surroundings, he smashed into the Empire State Building between the 78th and 80th floor. Almost immediately, fire began to spread around the room. Unfortunately, Captain William and all of his three crew members passed away during the crash, and many more were dead and injured inside the building due to the collision. Among the injured was 20-year-old Betty Lou Oliver, who was reportedly flung off a vehicle she was driving and smashed into the inner wall of the Empire State Building, right next to the elevators. She suffered a broken pelvis, back, and neck, all terrible injuries. Quite sadly, this was not the end of her problems. A few painstaking hours later, first aid helpers arrived and took the worst injured people down first. As Betty had three very serious breaks and was only 20, she was one of the first to go down. The first aid helpers got her onto a stretcher and noticed the elevator. Now, I personally wouldn't have used the lift when there was a fire in the building and possibly inside the elevator shaft, but in the heat of the moment, no pun intended, the rescuers might have thought it was a good idea. So, the rescuers pushed the stretcher into the elevator, and as soon as they did, the lift cable snapped. Betty plummeted 78 stories, 1,000 feet, or 300 meters to the bottom of the shaft. However, luck had finally come through. The broken elevator wires had coiled at the bottom of the shaft and made a makeshift trampoline or soft mat for the elevator to land on. Made it so that the fall was considerably less bad, and although Betty still sustained more terrible injuries, she was alive. It took a number of hours for Betty to be recovered from the bottom of the elevator shaft. When she was immediately taken to the hospital, where she stayed for 8 months until her injuries had healed. She went home and then moved to Fort Knox, where she married a man called Oscar and had 3 kids. She passed away peacefully at age 74 on 24th of November 1999 at Fort Knox. This accident is known as one of the worst in New York's history. 14 lives were lost. It is the quickest fire to be extinguished at such a height, and Betty Lou Oliver still holds the record for the highest fallen elevator ever. Also, also, it is a bit of a shame that the day of the accident was her last day on the job. Thank you for watching. Like and maybe subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Bye.